It's an honor to be here today, and I'm so pleased to see so many faces. It's great. It's great. Look at, you are creating this event by being here today, and I want to thank you for the investment of your time and your money to be here. Thank you. I'm sure that all of you are just pleased as hell with the way the government runs, right? No? Oh. You know what? That's actually the way it's supposed to be. It's amazing how much gridlock there is in government and how much we complain about it. But when the Constitution of this country was written, and by the way, there's a difference between a constitution and a piece of paper. You know, every country in the world, every banana republic and every president for life has a constitution. And they got a Bill of Rights, too. Some of them are even better than ours. But they're just a piece of paper. They don't actually demonstrate the constitution of the country. For example, you have a healthy constitution. Just writing it down isn't going to make it that way. Well, in this country, in every country, you have a constitution. Maybe that's a parchment constitution, but you also have the reality. And believe it or not, all the friction that we see in government here is what it's supposed to be. Alexander Hamilton, during the writing of the Constitution that we have, there was a document called the Federalist Papers, which laid out a lot of the plan. And on there, he wrote down that the way we've written out this government, the way we've got it divided up in all these conflicting powers, we won't be able to get much legislation done. And since the reason why we had a revolution in the first place is because of too much legislation on us, that's just the way we want it. You look at every parliamentary country in the world that has a parliamentary form of government, the chief executive is a creature of the parliament. He's elected by the parliament, and if the parliament isn't getting along with the prime minister, they just get rid of him and have somebody else go in. We don't do that. There are no countries that have two legislatures that have the same amount of authority, the same amount of power. If they have a second legislature, it's usually honorary or only does one thing. Now, when you think about that, how are you going to get anything accomplished when you've got all these House of Representative guys that are elected every 2 years, so they're running for election all the time, right? The other guys in the Senate, they're in for 6 years. They're elected at a different time period than even the president. My God, you've got so many different opinions in there, and that's what you want, because you don't want to have a tyranny of the majority. Think of what would have happened the day after 9/11 if our country didn't have all these forces rubbing against each other. There would have been a lot of things get done that shouldn't have gotten done. Maybe there were some that were not right, but there would have been more things done wrong if it was just everybody gets to raise their hand. Do you really want to be in the 49% that's dictated to by the 51%? Not really. And that's why it's so easy to throw a monkey wrench into anything that goes on in our government that might hurt one area or one group or another. So I guess what we have to try to do is learn to embrace and love the friction, the gridlock that exists in our government. Now that sounds, counterintuitive. It seems like, oh, wouldn't you like everything to run smoothly and get all the legislation? Yeah, but what if that's not the legislation you like? You don't want that. Over in China right now, they have 2 million Muslims in a detention camps where they're re-indoctrinating them. They didn't volunteer to go there. By the way, China is a very efficient government. I don't like that, and I don't think you do either. In the Soviet Union, well, not the Soviet Union, now it's Russia, right? It wasn't that many years ago that a band came out here, and I think there's a band that's coming out after me, but there was a band that had a song that ridiculed Putin. What do you think happened to the people that were in the band? They got arrested and put in jail. We wouldn't have enough jails if everybody who ridiculed President Trump, well, anyways, we should probably stay away from that. But the reality is that we are spoiled. I know that everything could always be better, and things could be more the way you like it and you'd like it, but it's an us, it's a we. And we can only let things happen that, not just the majority, but that is going to be right for everybody. It doesn't always get done, but at least that's the goal. At least that's the direction. At least that's the hope and prayer. And that hope and prayer was written not just in our Constitution, but it was written in the co-equal branches of government that are structured in there. And the fact that we don't have a one-party system. If you had a one-party system, you could get everything done, as long as it's my party, right? Well, we don't have to put up with that. We know that no matter what's going on today, there'll be a new crew in there in a few weeks or a few months or a year or two. And there's always that dynamic turnover of new ideas and new thinking and new opportunities. And that's what really draws so many people here from all over the world. More immigration comes to the United States than any other country in the world by far. And I think Germany is second, and they're like a tenth of what we are. We thrive on it, and we thrive on the friction, and we thrive on the excitement of it. And look, I know that from time to time, it gets to be so overwhelming and so boring, and we get so frustrated with these idiots that we want to string them up, right? Fortunately, we can't do that. And even more fortunately, they're not going to be there forever. When Putin was first elected to run Russia, they had term limits. Well, why is he still there? Because he decided that he would just transfer all his powers to another office, and then he'd go into that office. Can you imagine if that happened in this country? We'd go through the roof. We respect the separation of powers. We respect the bicameral legislature that we have. We respect the judiciary, and we are blessed that they don't get along. If they did get along, it might be that all the things you don't want would get done, or maybe all the things you don't want would get done. But this way, it's difficult to get things done, it's easy to interrupt the process, and it's easy to provide real freedom, which is really what it comes down to. I want to thank you very much for being here today. My name's Wes Berry, and have a great evening.